Hey there, in this video I'm going to talk to you about all the different roles that you will find on a film set crew. There's a lot of them, so let's get started. Film set roles are broken down into various categories. You got production, script supervisor, camera, electric, grips, sound, makeup and hair, costumes, props and set decoration, art, food, location, and other. The size of a film crew will vary greatly. In a small, low-budget film, you're going to have, just a camera op and just a director and just a first AD and maybe not a lot of crew. And in larger films, you're going to have multiple roles broken down. So I'm going to go through all of those roles in a large film set and tell you what they all do. So let's start with the production category. The producer of a film is the one that is mainly in charge of making the film. And they are the one that follows the film from conception all the way through to distribution. Most of their work is done before the film shoot starts. They're responsible for figuring out all the logistical considerations for a production and the budget overall and how the money's going to be allocated. And they're also responsible for hiring the director and other key staff on the shoot. The director is the director. They sit in the director's chair, they direct the film. It's their vision that is the guiding force of the film, and they are often the producer of a movie as well. Ultimately, under the producer, the director is the boss. A casting director is who casts all the actors in a film. This is all done before shooting. You will rarely see a casting director on set. Basically, they bring actors in, they find the right actors for the roles, and they run them through callbacks. The first AD is considered the top tier underneath the director. They make sure that the director's vision is being taken care of and on budget. They also make sure that the shoot is done on time. The first AD is kind of under the producer. They work with the producer and the director to make sure that actors' schedules and crew schedules are all put together prior to a shoot. They make up contingency plans in case there's weather problems. And they also put together a schedule for shooting considering day shoots and night shoots. And they're also responsible for everyone's physical safety while on the set. Then we have the second AD or second assistant director. This is the person that if you're an actor, you're going to be most in touch with. They're going to be your point of contact. They sort of connect the base camp where the actors and extras wait and the film set. So they will call people to set, they'll make sure you're out of your trailer, and they will get you to the set on time. The second AD also arranges for travel, sends off production assistants to get things from other locations and bring them to set. They also will work with the first AD to schedule the daily call sheet. Now the line producer or the production manager is responsible for all the paperwork. So they'll help coordinate the schedule with the first AD. They'll hire crew and negotiate their contracts, and they'll deal with time cards and set expenses. They also might order things that are needed on the set, and they might handle travel and lodging and things like that for the actors and crew. And then there's the PA, the production assistants. There are a variety of people, and usually there's multiple of them. They help go get things from other sets. They bring in equipment, they set up tables, they help with rigging, taping things. They might fetch coffee for somebody. They might drive across town to buy a prop. They might hold an umbrella for the talent if it's raining outside, or put a shawl on them. Anywhere that they can help out. PAs are awesome. On-set transportation. These are PAs that are responsible for transporting people to and from set, sometimes driving actors from the airport and whatnot. And they're also maybe responsible for moving prop vehicles to and from the set. So they drive a lot. Next category is script supervisor. And this is just one person. A script supervisor is basically in charge of making sure that everything that shows up on camera is notated so that there are no continuity errors. They're constantly looking out for things like, is the mug in this person's right hand or their left hand? What clothes were they wearing? What lens was used on the camera? How far was the camera in this shot? What lines were spoken? What lines were misspoken? They will often be the person that comes up to an actor in between takes and say, the actual line is this, and show them the script. They're making sure that what's on the script is getting translated onto the screen. The script supervisor has to be very thorough and very detailed. They're often working right next to the director, watching all the footage in the dailies and all that kind of stuff. You also might see the writer on the set. Often a writer will be on set because the director will want the cast to improvise some lines sometimes, and it's got to be okayed by the writer. and sometimes they might need to do some line changes depending on the location of the set. So the writer would be there to adjust dialogue and things like that. Now the camera category. First is the director of photography or the cinematographer. They are the person that works with the director in advance to discover the style and the color palette and the locations of the film and how it's going to be shot and how it's going to look on camera. And they are responsible on set for directing how the camera will be placed, what kinds of lenses to use, how the lighting should look, and what grip and electric needs to do. The camera operator will decide the framing of a shot, any motion in the shot or zooming that's going to be happening, and they will operate the camera during the shot. Many directors of photography are also their own camera operators. The first AC is responsible for follow focus on the camera, so they will often be the one that racks the focus or focuses on objects with the lens. And they're also responsible for swapping out the lenses on the camera in between takes. And they might also set up the camera on a dolly or a tripod and get it all ready to go for the camera operator. The second assistant camera person is responsible for logging all of the camera shots, what lens was used, how far it was. They are also responsible for slating each of the camera shots with a little clapboard, and they work with the script supervisor and the sound department to make sure that they got all the right letters and numbers on that slate. Digital imaging technician. The DIT is responsible for taking all of the data cards from the camera and possibly the audio and downloading those onto external hard drives, making sure they're backed up and reformatted for the next shoot. And they also help set up monitors and things like that for the director. Now let's explore the electric category. The gaffer is the main electric person, and they work with the director of photography to determine which kind of lights need to be chosen, what the color temperatures are, where they're going to be placed, and all of that. So they're kind of the one to go to recognize the vision of the director of photography. And then there is the best boy electric. So there's two kinds of best boys, electric and grip. But this is the best boy electric, and best boy sounds misogynistic. A best boy can be female as well. But they are second in charge under the gaffer, and they help coordinate the setup of all the different lights. The electric crew will be responsible for lighting and anything that has power running through it. They'll set up lights, they'll run cords, tape them down, all that kind of stuff. Now the grip department. Grips work on anything else. They work on like setting up dollies, setting up camera cranes, moving furniture out of the way. They kind of are tied to the electrical department as well. They may help with paging cords or setting up the tripods that the lights go on. The key grip is the grip in charge. Key is basically the first, the primary. So they're in charge of coordinating all the other grips. And a best boy grip is their assistant and is like the second in line. And there's also a position called the dolly grip, which is responsible for moving the dolly. A dolly is a wagon that the camera is on that runs on tracks. Whenever you see those slow moving, smooth shots, they're usually on a dolly, and somebody is operating that dolly, either mechanically or pushing it physically. All right, let's go to the sound department. So a production sound mixer, they basically sit at a little area off the set, listening in, adjusting the actors' body mics and other microphones that might be on the set to sort of balance it and mix it live as it's being recorded. A boom operator runs that boom mic that is often above or down below an actor. Those are shotgun mics that pick up sound really closely. They have to coordinate it and also keep it out of frame. A sound utility person is like an assistant to the sound mixer person, and they help them with paperwork, with logging things. They also mic up the actors and kind of hide mics on set as well. And they deal with interference issues, and they help monitor sound like airplanes flying over, things like that. I want to take a quick moment to thank my Patreon sponsors. If you like this channel and what we're doing here, I encourage you to go over to patreon.com/augmentedactor and sign up for one of the tiers. Next up, makeup and hair. The key makeup artist works with the hair department and the makeup department to make sure that the actors look as they should look for their close-ups and whatnot. They would be responsible for overseeing the makeup artists on the set and the hairstylist as well. A key hairstylist is going to be in charge of hair, possibly wigs, And they would also help by putting microphones in people's hair and wigs if it is necessary to do so. And then there's makeup stylists and hairstylists that help on set. Depending on the size of a set and how many people need to be in hair and makeup, there could be 10 or 20 of these people or more. There's also a special effects makeup artist. If the movie is a horror movie, say, or has practical effects that need to go on a face, they will be in charge of designing those special effects, applying them, and making sure that those effects work. They usually also have their own crew and assistants to help them. The costume designer is usually not on set other than maybe to oversee. They are in charge of designing the costumes to meet the director's vision, maintaining and finding those costumes or building them, and they will be working with the actors to make sure that the proper wardrobe is worn and the proper accessories are worn as well. A set costumer is like an assistant costumer, and they will be responsible for putting microphones on any costumes that an actor needs it on. Now let's talk properties and set direction. The prop master is in charge of building or finding everything that's on a set. The props that actors hold, the furniture, the pictures and photos that are on the walls, tools and utensils in a kitchen, food and drink, books, newspapers, instruments, anything that is a physical prop will be the prop designer's responsibility. The set decorator is the person responsible for putting all those props on the set and making it look like the director's vision. They will often be on set to help move things around, to fit them in a shot, or to remove things that aren't necessary, and to make sure that the set doesn't change between shots. And an on-set dresser is somebody that is doing that same thing. They're putting props on the set, but they're more concerned with where props are, where they start, where they end up. They'll often take pictures of the set, and they will make sure that they go through before every shot to make sure that everything is in the right place. Let's look at the art department. The art director is responsible for the look of all of the locations, whether it's a set, somebody's home, or even an outdoor location. So they're going to be looking at that area and making sure that it fits the vision of the director. They're going to work with the director in advance and during the shoot to design what you see on film. And if there are sets, this art director designs them and constructs them usually. Working with the art director is the construction coordinator and their crew. These are the carpentry people who build the sets, hammer the things, paint, all that stuff. Then there's the food department. There are the caterers who set up the meals for in between shoots. And then there are also the crafties who set up the tables full of snacks for people throughout the day. And they might transport those snacks from set location to location. But there are also food stylists who work on set whenever there has to be a nice fancy food related item or something that looks delicious. These people will cook that food, make it look nice or how it needs to look, and then they'll make sure that it keeps getting replenished while it's on the set. Next is the location department. Now you probably won't see the location manager on an actual set because their work is already done in advance. They're responsible for finding all of the locations. They're usually really familiar with the city that they live in so that they can recommend places, and they will coordinate, contracts and things like that with property owners to make sure that those sets are available. Location scouts help the location manager find interesting locations that the location manager might not have thought of and actually go out there and visit those locations. Now those are the primary roles you will see on most any set, but there are many other roles that you will have as well, depending on the film you're working on. A visual effects artist will be on set to help with any kind of CGI or graphics related things. They might set up green screen or judge how far a camera should be, and they will give advice to the director of photography and the director about how to set up effects shots so that they can be corrected in post. A stunt coordinator is somebody who will rehearse stunts, will set up special stunts, and work with stunt people to coordinate those stunts and make sure that they're pulled off well. If you have a musical or a lot of complicated movement in a piece, you will have a choreographer and probably a dance captain as well. Choreographers determine what dance moves are done on a film. They teach the performers how to do those dance steps, and they work with them to fine-tune it. An armorer is on set anytime there are weapons used, especially guns. but they may also work with swords or other dangerous items. And they are there to make sure that everything is safe, that no bullets are loaded, that only blanks are being used, that people are handling it and observing it properly. And we know the importance of having an armorer on set because of the whole Alec Baldwin rust situation. You know, things can go very, very wrong if that person's not doing their job. A fight choreographer works out all of the punching and fighting and the rolls and the hits and things like that. They would work with a stunt coordinator as well because those people are often doing those stunts, but a fight choreographer makes sure that all the fighting happens and looks really good. A fly rig. So if you're doing special effects like on a green screen, you may need to fly characters up in the air. There's usually a person or a team of people that runs those rigs to fly people up in the air. A nursery person is responsible for all the greenery on the set, making sure that plants and trees and vegetation is brought in to put on a set and then maintained, watered, fertilized, and all that. A supervising editor could be the editor of the film or could be somebody that they hire to be on set to make sure that the director is taking into account how editing this piece will come together. They're kind of looking for whether shots are going to fit together nicely or whether there needs to be more coverage shot. There are kid wranglers and animal wranglers. So anytime there are small children on set, there will be a wrangler who will make sure that they're taken care of and send them off to school when they need to be there and make sure that they're behaving and all that. And then there's animal wranglers who will deal with bugs and horses and dogs and cats and everything like that. Stand-ins. That's a person that is hired just to stand in for an actor, usually a principal actor, but it could be for any actor who has not yet arrived to set. The stand-in will be of the relative size and shape of the actor. They will stand there while the crew sets up the lighting and the camera so that the actor doesn't have to do that. A stills photographer is on set to take behind-the-scenes stills. You might also have another videographer who is documenting the behind the scenes and interviewing the actors as well. Safety officers will often appear on set. They are in charge of making sure that the set is as safe as can be and all those kind of things. An intimacy coordinator is a fairly new position, but one that should have been around all along. They are responsible for handling and choreographing sex scenes, kissing scenes, anything where a person is emotionally vulnerable, an actor or otherwise, and they make sure that everything is okay every step of the way for all participants. Intimacy coordinators are very important these days. You might also see dialect coaches on set. Anytime somebody has to do an accent, movies will hire a dialect coach to make sure that that actor is saying things in the proper way. They will often come up in between takes along with the script supervisor and say, no, try saying this word this way or that word this way. On-set interpreters are often needed when you're working in international films and you have crew and actors that speak different languages. So you have interpreters for obvious reasons. And you'll have science advisors on set anytime that you're dealing with scientific or medical terms. Usually in advance of a shoot, the science supervisor would give their advice about whether something is scientifically possible or medically possible, make sure you're using the right terminology, that kind of thing. And then finally, you might have a dramaturg. This is more of a stage thing, but some film sets have a dramaturg available. A dramaturg usually is there to help with period pieces, making sure that everything in the set and costumes is possible for that time period and that people are using the right kind of language. If a television show is showing up on the television screen, they would be able to advise about what would be the appropriate television show or music that would be used, that kind of thing. So they really help research the time that a piece took place in. Phew, that was a lot. So I hope this gives you a better idea of all the different roles. It's really important that when you work as an actor that you know and understand what these roles are and what each person is doing, because they are each doing a very important job. And the more you can get to know everybody's name and know exactly what they're doing, the better you'll feel on set, the more in tune to everything you'll feel, and the more camaraderie and companionship you'll experience on set as well. Plus, you'll make a lot of great friends. If you want to learn more about film set terminology, I have this video up here. You can watch that, and we'll talk to you later.